The drill bit caught harder than it should have. I was on one knee in Natalie Walsh's Brooklyn Heights apartment, holding the cabinet frame steady with my left hand and guiding the drill with my right. It was supposed to be simple. For anchors, one small locked wall cabinet, clean install, no dust trail, no noise after 8. She had picked the wall beside a narrow hallway closet, away from the windows, away from anything guests would notice. Then the plaster shifted. Not broke, shifted. The sound changed under the bit, from that normal dry scrape to a low crunch, and a thin crack ran out from the hole like it had been waiting for me. It cut through the fresh white paint in a crooked line, first 3 inches, then 6, then almost a foot. I let go of the trigger. Natalie stood behind me in socks and a gray sweater, holding a stack of folders against her chest. She didn't gasp. She didn't ask how bad it was. She didn't even look at the crack first. She looked at my tool bag, then at my company tablet on the floor. "This can't exist on paper," she said. That was the moment the whole thing changed. Before that, I had been telling myself it was just a favor. Not smart, maybe, but small. Natalie was our regional operations director, which meant she wasn't my direct boss every single day. But she was high enough that when she walked into the Queen's service office, people stopped talking. She controlled routing, overtime approvals, client escalations, discipline, all the stuff that could make a technician's week easy or impossible. I was just one of the guys in a van. I fixed bracket problems, mounted devices, calmed down clients who had been promised something sales couldn't deliver. I got sent across the city when a job had already gone sideways. So when Natalie had asked me, quietly, if I knew how to install a locked document cabinet, I should have said, "Put in a ticket." I should have told her to use building maintenance or a licensed contractor through whatever proper channel rich apartment buildings like to use. Instead, I said, "Yeah, I can take a look." That was how I ended up in her hallway at 8:37 at night, with plaster dust on my jeans and a crack spreading across a wall that looked like it had been painted yesterday. I leaned closer and ran my thumb lightly along the edge. "Don't touch it too much," she said. "I'm checking whether it's surface paint or the wall itself. And it's not just paint." Her face stayed controlled, but her fingers tightened around the folders. I took a flashlight from my bag and angled it into the drilled hole. At first, all I saw was gray dust and old plaster. Then the light caught something dark behind it. I shifted closer. There was an old cable line back there, wrapped in stiff black casing, running where it didn't belong. Behind the broken section, the wall also didn't feel solid. There was a hollow pocket wider than the cabinet, like somebody had opened that space years ago and closed it badly. I sat back on my heel. "Natalie." She didn't answer. "This needs to be inspected." "No." I looked up at her. "I haven't even finished the sentence." "I know the sentence. This could be old wiring, or an abandoned line, or somebody cut into the wall before and covered it up. I don't know, and I'm not going to pretend I know." "It's an old building," she said, too fast. "Old buildings have strange things in walls." "Sure. And old buildings also have rules about who opens walls." Her eyes moved toward the hallway, toward the front door, as if somebody might already be listening outside. "Nobody opened anything," she said. I almost laughed, not because it was funny, but because the crack was right there between us. "Natalie, there's a 12-inch line across your wall. Then we patch it. We don't patch unknown wiring and a hollow space behind plaster. You're saying that because you're careful. I'm saying that because I like keeping my job and my license clean. You don't have a license for this." "Exactly, which makes it worse." She set the folders on the small console table near the door very carefully, like the way she moved could keep everything else from moving too. I noticed then that the folders weren't random. They were labeled with dates, bank names, property documents, legal correspondence. Not company files, personal files. The locked cabinet suddenly made more sense. She saw me see them and slid one folder under another. "My building will make a record," she said. "If I call maintenance, they'll write it up. If they write it up, it can be requested. If it can be requested, it can be used." "By who?" She looked at me for a second, and the director part of her cracked just a little. My ex-husband's attorney. I didn't say anything. She folded her arms. He's trying to prove I'm hiding documents, hiding assets, using people improperly, anything he can twist. The cabinet was supposed to keep things organized and secure. That's all. That's not all anymore. I know. No, I don't think you do. I stood up and wiped dust off my hands with a rag. I came here after work with my own tools because you asked me quietly. There's no company ticket, no invoice, no building request. You're senior operations. I'm field service. If this turns into a question, nobody is going to treat us like two equal adults who made a bad judgment call. Her mouth tightened. I didn't force you. I know that. Did you feel forced? I hated that question because the honest answer didn't fit into one clean box. I looked at the half-mounted cabinet, the fresh crack, the hidden line behind it, and my tablet glowing on the floor with the company logo on the case. I felt like saying yes was easier than saying no. Write in the comments, was I wrong to help Natalie after hours? Or was the real problem that her position made it almost impossible for me to say no? That landed harder than I expected. Natalie looked away first. For a few seconds, all I heard was traffic down on the street and the faint hum from the fridge in her kitchen. Her apartment was nice, but not flashy. Tall windows, books stacked on the floor, one framed print leaning against a wall instead of hanging. It looked like someone who had money but no time to live properly inside it. I need this not to become a thing, she said quietly. It already is a thing. No, Daniel. A thing is when forms get created. A thing is when building management opens a maintenance issue. A thing is when my company asks why one of its technicians was in my apartment after hours. I bent down and picked up the cabinet screws. I'm going to secure the frame enough that it doesn't fall. Temporary only. No more drilling into that side. No patching. No cutting. No hiding the line. She watched me. And then? She asked. Then we talk about boundaries before I do anything else for you. The word boundaries sounded strange in her apartment. Too formal, maybe, but I needed it there. I needed something in the room stronger than her fear and my stupid willingness to help. I moved the lower bracket half an inch away from the crack and used the existing hole only where I could see it was clean. My hands worked steady, but my stomach didn't. Every click of the screwdriver sounded too loud. Every little scrape made Natalie glance toward the door. When I finished, the cabinet sat on the wall, not perfect, not fully loaded, but stable enough for empty use. The crack ran beside it like a signature. I packed my drill, anchors, bit case, and level. I wiped the floor with a damp paper towel. I didn't take money. She didn't offer, which was the only smart thing either of us did that night. At the door, she said, "Daniel." I stopped. "I'm sorry. I wanted to accept it. I wanted to make it simple for both of us." She looked tired in a way I hadn't seen at work, where she always had her hair perfect and her voice even and her calendar weaponized. Here, barefoot in her hallway, she looked like someone holding up too many walls at once. But the actual wall behind me was already giving out. "I'll message you tomorrow," I said. "Not tonight. No company channels." I looked at her. She knew how that sounded. She closed her eyes briefly. I know what you mean." I stepped into the hallway and waited for the elevator with my tool bag heavy against my leg. My company tablet buzzed before the doors even opened. At first I thought it was a routine dispatch alert. It wasn't. Jenna from dispatch had sent me a message. "Why is your device pinging near Montague Street after hours? You want a call I don't see?" I stared at the screen until the elevator arrived. The quiet favor had already left a trail. I typed 3 different answers to Jenna and deleted all of them. The elevator was slow, one of those old Brooklyn ones with a brass rail and a mirror that made me look more guilty than I felt. My tool bag sat between my boots. My tablet kept glowing in my hand. "Why is your device pinging near Montague Street after hours? You want a call I don't see?" That was Jenna. Not dramatic. Not nosy. Just sharp. I finally wrote back. Personal stop. Forgot tablet was still active. No work ticket. The 3 dots appeared almost right away. Personal stop with company device moving after route close? I stared at that and felt my shoulders tighten.
Yeah.
My mistake. She didn't answer for almost a minute. The elevator doors opened into the lobby, and I stepped out past a doorman who barely looked up from his desk. That was another thing I hadn't thought about before. The building knew I had been there. The doorman had seen my tool bag. Cameras had probably caught me walking in, waiting for the elevator, leaving with dust on my jeans. My phone buzzed again. Call me when you're outside. Not on tablet. That made it worse. I got out onto Montague Street, walked half a block, and called her from my personal phone. Jenna picked up with no hello. Tell me you weren't on a private job. I wasn't paid. That's not what I asked. I leaned against the side of a closed bakery and looked down the street. It was a favor. For who? I didn't answer fast enough. She made a low sound, not quite a laugh. Daniel, don't start. I'm not starting. I'm trying to keep you from being stupid in public. Was it for Natalie Walsh? My silence answered. Wow, she said. Okay. It was small. Small doesn't matter. The system doesn't measure small. It measures time, route, device location, missed windows, client history, and whether there's a ticket attached. I know. No, you don't. You're thinking like a normal person. The system is not a normal person. I rubbed my forehead with the heel of my hand. Nothing happened. Something happened. Your device pinged after close in a neighborhood where we had no assignment, inside the range of a senior director's home area. Tomorrow, if you have any delay, any client noise, any weird note on your route, it gets stacked with this. I'll be on time. Then be on time. I said I would. But the next morning started wrong before I even reached the van. Natalie texted me at 6:42. Do not mention the wall to anyone yet. I'm looking at options. I was standing in my kitchen, making coffee too strong because I had barely slept. I read it twice. We need proper inspection, not options, I wrote back. She didn't answer. By 8:15, I was supposed to be in Midtown for a client who had already been rescheduled once. I hit traffic on the BQE, then my phone rang from a number I didn't know. I ignored it. It rang again. Then Natalie's name came up. I shouldn't have answered. I need to know exactly what you saw, she said. I told you. The cable. The hollow space. Was it visible from the hallway? Natalie, I'm driving to a client. Was it visible? Not unless someone looks closely. Could it be patched without opening more? I gripped the wheel. That's the wrong question. It's the question I have. No. The question is whether that wall has something behind it that building management needs to know about. There was a pause. My building has a maintenance portal, she said. I looked this morning. There's already a draft request. I didn't submit it, but I started one after you left. Then submit it. If I submit it, it creates a record. It already exists as a draft. I don't know who can see drafts. That was when I missed my exit. I cursed under my breath, swung around 10 blocks later, and reached the client 23 minutes late. The client was a dental office with a waiting room full of people staring at me like I had personally delayed their whole day. The office manager didn't want my apology. She wanted a name, a reason, and a complaint link. By noon, she had filed it and copied compliance. I knew because Jenna messaged me, your 9 a.m. complaint just landed upstairs. And before you ask, yes, timing looks awful. I sat in the van outside the second job and felt the air go thin. At the office that afternoon, the jokes had already started. I walked into the break room to refill my water bottle, and Daryl from installations grinned at me. Yo, Daniel, you doing VIP house calls now? Two guys laughed. One of them made a soft whistle. Nothing direct. Nothing I could report without sounding ridiculous. Just enough to make my face heat. I looked at Daryl. Find a hobby. Oh, he said. Sensitive. Jenna was at the dispatch desk when I passed. She didn't smile. She just pointed toward the side hall with her pen. I followed her. Do not feed them, she said. I didn't. You did a little. He's being an idiot. Of course he is. But jokes become screenshots. Screenshots become attachments. Attachments become somebody's concern about culture. Stop giving people lines. I leaned back against the wall. How bad is it? Bad enough that you need to stop improvising. Before I could answer, my personal phone buzzed again. Natalie, come by my office before you leave. I showed Jenna the screen. Her eyebrows lifted. Absolutely not alone, she said. She's the regional director. And you're the guy whose tablet pinged near her apartment last night. Use your brain. I didn't go to Natalie's office. I called her from my van. She picked up quickly. Why didn't you come upstairs? Because that would be another private conversation with no record. I wanted to help you. You wanted to smooth this. I wanted to keep it proportional. That means what? It means we explain that you stopped by as a friend. You had no assignment, no payment, no company resource issue. The delayed call was unrelated. It wasn't unrelated. She went quiet. I looked through the windshield at the loading dock door in front of me. I missed that exit because I was on the phone with you about the wall. You answered. And you called. Another pause. This one felt different. My ex-husband's attorney has been asking for property-related records, she said. Repairs, improvements, storage, anything tied to the apartment. If he sees a building entry for damaged wall repair right after a company technician came over with tools, he'll build a story from that. And I'll be in it. Yes, there it was. Not hidden anymore. My name could move from route logs and office jokes into legal emails. Daniel Fawcett, field technician, present at apartment after hours. No ticket, no invoice, wall damage, private documents. I felt something settle in me then. Not calm exactly. More like the moment when a bad mount finally gives way and you stop pretending one more screw will save it. I'm making a disclosure, I said. No. You don't get to say no. Daniel, listen to me. Once you send something, it can't be pulled back. That's the point. You don't understand how these reviews work. I understand how silence works. It always lands on the person with less room to move. She breathed out hard. I am not trying to put this on you. Then don't. I ended the call before she could turn it into another strategy meeting. In the van, I opened a clean email to compliance. My hands were stiff, but I kept the words plain. I wrote that I had gone to Natalie Walsh's apartment voluntarily after work to assist with installing a small locked wall cabinet for personal documents. I wrote that there was no company ticket, no payment, and no official assignment. I wrote that my company tablet had been with me and had pinged near the location after hours. I wrote that during the attempt, the wall showed damage and possible old hidden wiring or an unknown hollow space. I wrote that no further work should happen without proper channels. Then I added the line I hated most because it was the truest one. Given Ms. Walsh's senior role and my position as a field technician, I believe there is a power imbalance that should be formally mitigated. I copied Jenna because she had already seen the log and because I needed one person in the system who knew I wasn't trying to hide. For almost 5 minutes, I just stared at the send button. Then I pressed it. Jenna called me 30 seconds later. You sent it? Yeah. Okay, she said. Don't discuss it with anyone now. Not Daryl, not your lead, not Natalie in a hallway, nobody. Is that advice or an order? It's me trying to keep you employed. By 5:18, compliance replied. We have received your disclosure. A formal review will be opened. Please preserve all relevant messages and refrain from informal discussion of this matter pending intake. I read it twice in the van, parked under the gray afternoon light behind the Queen's office. The quiet favor was officially gone. Compliance called me at 8:10 the next morning, right when I was loading cable boxes into the van. The woman on the call said her name was Monica, and her voice had that careful company tone where every word sounded like it had already been reviewed by legal. She thanked me for the disclosure. She said the company appreciated transparency. Then she started asking questions that made my stomach tighten one at a time. Did Ms. Walsh direct you to perform work at her residence? No. Did she imply that refusing would affect your schedule, reviews, discipline status, or future assignments? No. Did you use company materials? No. My own anchors, my own drill, my own time. Did you use a company device while present? My tablet was with me. I didn't use it for the install. But it was active? Yes. Was any payment offered? No. Was more private work discussed? I looked across the van at my tool bag sitting open on the floor. She asked if the wall could be patched quietly. I said no. Monica paused after that. I could hear typing. Can you explain why you said no? Because there was possible old wiring behind the plaster and a hollow space I couldn't identify. I'm not opening or hiding something in a residential building wall without proper channels. That is helpful, she said. Helpful. That was the word they used when something was bad but useful for the file. After the call ended, I sat in the van for a minute with the doors still open. Guys walked past me toward their routes, laughing, drinking coffee, complaining about parking. Everything looked normal, which somehow made it worse. My whole job had turned into a record, but the day still expected me to mount equipment and smile at clients. Jenna came out of the dispatch entrance holding a clipboard. You talked to intake? She asked. Yeah. Good. Now stop looking like you just confessed to robbing a bank. I don't know what I look like. You look like a guy coworkers are going to poke just to see what happens. I shut the van door. People already started. Then here's the rule. No explaining in the break room. No defending yourself in the parking lot. No sarcastic comments near supervisors. Every sentence you say can become someone else's version of events. I nodded even though I hated how right she was. She softened a little. Daniel, I don't think you were trying to be shady. Does that matter? To me, yeah. To the system, not always. That stayed with me all morning. By lunch, Natalie had called twice. I didn't answer. Then she texted. We need to speak. This is getting larger than it needs to be. I wrote back. No informal calls. Email or reviewed channel only. She didn't respond for almost an hour. Then one message came through. You have no idea what you've done. I stared at it so long the client's receptionist had to wave me toward the service closet. That afternoon, compliance sent a calendar invite for a follow-up interview. My supervisor was copied. HR was copied. The subject line didn't say my name and Natalie's together, but it didn't have to. People saw meetings. People guessed. People built stories out of empty boxes. At 4:30, I was called into a small conference room with Monica on video, my supervisor sitting across from me, and someone from HR taking notes. They asked the same questions in cleaner circles. Did I feel pressure? Did Natalie ever contact me outside approved channels before this? Had I done favors for senior staff before? Was there any personal relationship? That last one made my ears heat. No, I said. Monica looked at the camera. No personal relationship? No relationship. Friendship. I almost said no, but that felt false too. I had talked to Natalie more than once after long client days. She had remembered details. My mother's knee surgery. My old van's transmission problem. The fact that I hated Staten Island routes after dark. At work, those things had seemed harmless. I would say we were friendly, I said. Not close. Did that friendliness influence your decision to assist her? Yes. My supervisor shifted in his chair. I kept going because stopping would look worse. And her role influenced it too. Not because she threatened anything. Because saying no to someone that high up doesn't feel simple. More typing. When they let me leave, my shirt was sticking to my back. In the hallway, Natalie was standing near the elevators. She looked like she had not slept. Same perfect coat, same straight posture, but her face was pale and her jaw was tight. We can't talk here, I said immediately. I know. Then why are you here? Her eyes flicked toward the glass conference room behind me. Because my attorney got an email this morning. That stopped me. From who? My ex-husband's attorney. They said they are aware of unusual after-hours activity at my apartment. They asked whether any personal records were moved, concealed, or protected using company resources. I felt the hallway tilt a little. How would they know? Building visitor logs, cameras, maybe maintenance portal activity, maybe someone in the building talks. I don't know. My name hadn't been said, but it was already in the room between us. Natalie lowered her voice. This is why I wanted time. No, this is why time wouldn't have helped. You think a disclosure protects you from being dragged into my case? I think hiding would make me look worse when they drag me in anyway. Her eyes flashed. I am trying to protect you. I laughed once, sharp and tired. No, you're trying to move me out of the blast zone after deciding where I stand. That is not fair. It's exactly fair. You asked me there. Then you told me not to put anything on paper. Then you wanted a clean explanation. Now you're telling me to step away for my own good. Her voice dropped. Because being near me right now is dangerous for your job. Then give me a real choice. What does that mean? It means one of two things. Either the company formally transfers me away from your influence, with the reason documented cleanly, or I resign before everyone turns me into the problem. The words came out faster than I expected. Once they were out, I knew I meant them. Natalie stared at me. You would quit. If staying means waiting for you, compliance, your attorney, and your ex-husband's attorney to decide what I am, yeah. For once, she had no answer ready. The next morning, HR sent the mitigation plan. I was being moved out of the New York Central Territory effective immediately, assigned to a North Jersey support route with a different reporting chain. Same pay, same title. No client-facing leadership escalations connected to Natalie's region. The email used words like protection, neutrality, and business continuity. Felt like being pushed through a side door. Jenna read it over my shoulder while I stood by the dispatch printer. They're giving you a clean landing, she said. They're moving me because I told the truth. They're moving you because leaving you under her region looks terrible. That's not different. It is when lawyers are breathing on everyone. Before I could answer, another email came in. This one was from compliance with Natalie copied. Natalie had submitted her own disclosure. I opened it with my thumb shaking. She confirmed I had not been directed, threatened, promised anything, or paid. She confirmed the request had been personal, that she had failed to consider the power imbalance properly, and that further speculation about me should be treated as inappropriate workplace conduct. She also wrote that building-approved licensed repair had been scheduled and that all apartment-related records would be handled through proper channels. For a minute, I just stood there. Jenna looked at my face. What? She signed one too. Jenna exhaled. Good. Does it fix anything? No, but it stops her from letting you carry it alone. At 5:06, HR sent the final document. Transfer acknowledgement required by end of business tomorrow. Failure to acknowledge may result in separation review. I read that line 3 times. Sign it or risk losing the job. That was the cost of making it official. I didn't sign the transfer that night. I opened the document 3 times, read the same lines until they stopped looking like words, then closed it again. Same pay, same title, different territory, different reporting chain. Effective immediately. On paper, it looked clean. In my chest, it felt like punishment with better formatting. North Jersey support route meant longer drives, unfamiliar clients, bridges, tolls, different supervisors, and none of the regular rhythm I had built in New York. It meant leaving the people who knew my work and walking into a new group as the guy with a quiet HR file following him. Nobody had to say it out loud. These things traveled. Not in official emails, maybe, but in side comments and half-finished sentences. The next morning, Jenna found me in the parking lot before my first call. You look terrible, she said. Good morning to you too. Did you sign? No. She crossed her arms. Daniel, it says failure to acknowledge may result in separation review. Exactly. So they're threatening me. They're telling you where the floor is. I leaned against the van. That's supposed to make me feel better? No. It's supposed to make you move smart. She lowered her voice. If you refuse, they can turn this into you being difficult during mitigation. Then the story changes from field tech caught in bad judgment to employee won't cooperate with compliance controls. Signing gives you cleaner ground. It still feels like they're moving me out of sight. They are. I looked at her. She shrugged. I'm not going to lie to you. They are moving you out of sight. But they're also moving you out of Natalie's chain. That part helps you. Make sure the wording doesn't label you guilty. Then sign. That was Jenna. No sugar. No drama. Just the part one needed. So I went inside, asked HR to revise one line. The first version said the transfer followed, conduct concerns. I told them I would not sign that. I had disclosed voluntarily, preserved messages, answered questions, and did not accept a label that made it sound like I had been caught doing something after hiding it. 3 hours later, the revised version came through. Temporary mitigation assignment related to conflict of interest review. No disciplinary finding at this stage. I hated it less, so I signed. My hand felt heavy after I clicked the final button, like signing had taken more out of me than drilling into that wall ever had. Natalie's email arrived 20 minutes later. Not a text, not a private call. Email with her attorney and compliance copied where needed. She had arranged the wall repair through building-approved licensed contractors. The building would inspect the hollow space and old cable line. The maintenance request was no longer a draft hiding in a portal. It had a number, a date, and her name on it. She had also filed a conflict disclosure with the company. Admitting the request should never have been informal. I read that part twice. She was finally doing the inconvenient thing. Late that afternoon, after my last New York route before the transfer kicked in, she sent one more message. Would you meet me somewhere public? No apartment, no office, just a cafe. I almost said no. Then I thought about the hallway, the crack, the way she had looked when she said she was trying to protect me, and I knew she was still trying to control the board. I wrote back, 1 hour, public place. No work discussion outside what needs to be said. We met at a cafe near Borough Hall, the kind with small round tables and too many people working on laptops. She was already there when I arrived, sitting by the window with both hands around a paper cup. For once, she didn't look like a regional operations director. She looked like a woman who had run out of ways to stand perfectly straight. Thank you for coming, she said. I sat across from her. I signed. I heard. I made them change the wording. Good. There was an awkward silence. Not the soft kind. The kind where both people know they can't hide behind the old version of themselves anymore. I'm sorry, she said. Not the easy version. The real one. I put you in a position I should have understood better than anyone. You did. I know. And when it got messy, your first move was to manage it. Her fingers tightened around the cup. Yes. That can't happen again. It won't. I looked at her until she met my eyes. No private favors. No quiet apartment visits. No off-record fixing. No using me when you're scared and then pushing me away when somebody notices. Her face changed a little at that, like the sentence hit somewhere she hadn't guarded. And no relationship, I added. While you still have any influence over my work. Not direct, not indirect, not through people who answer to you. She nodded slowly. That's fair. I'm not saying it to sound noble. I'm saying it because I like you, and that makes this more dangerous, not less. Her eyes dropped to the table. For the first time since all of this started, neither of us tried to make that sentence smaller. She took a breath. I didn't only ask you there because of the cabinet. I stayed quiet. I did need it installed. The documents were real. The legal pressure is real. But I could have hired someone. I could have called the building. I could have done 10 proper things. She looked back up at me. I asked you because I wanted you there. Because tasks feel safer than asking for a person. The cafe noise moved around us. Cups, chairs, soft voices. A barista calling a name from the counter. I didn't know what to do with her honesty. It would have been easier if she had stayed controlling. Easier if she had given me another clean reason to walk away angry. I can't be your safe task, I said. I know. If anything real happens, it has to survive boring normal days. Not crisis. Not secrecy. Not me showing up with a drill and leaving with my job on the line. A small, tired smile touched her mouth. Boring normal days sound impossible right now. They're the only ones I trust. We sat there a while longer talking carefully. Not like people starting something. More like people clearing broken glass before deciding whether to step forward. She told me the building inspection was scheduled. I told her my new route started Monday. She said compliance had warned senior staff about speculation. I told her people would still talk. They always do, I said. I'll keep pushing back. Do it for the record, not for me. She nodded. For the record. When we left, it was already dark outside. We stood near the corner, close enough that I could smell her coffee and the cold air on her coat. She reached for my hand, then stopped halfway. I made the choice myself. I took her hand for maybe 5 seconds. That was all. Then I let go. Her eyes stayed on mine. Slowly. In daylight, I said. She nodded once. In daylight. I walked to the subway feeling lighter and worse at the same time. The truth was out. The transfer was signed. The wall had a repair number. Natalie had stopped trying to erase the problem. For 6 blocks, I let myself believe the worst part had passed. Then my phone buzzed. It was a forwarded legal email from Natalie. No message from her, just the chain. The subject line made me stop in the middle of the sidewalk. Re Walsh property matter, Daniel Fawcett / after hours apartment access. I stood under the streetlight, staring at my own name inside her ex-husband's case. We weren't hiding anymore. But honesty, I was starting to learn, did not mean the fight was over.